In the dust of forgotten deserts, beneath the silent ruins of Mesopotamia, lies a story older than most of human memory. A story whispered on clay tablets inscribed over 5,000 years ago by a people who gazed into the heavens and dared to ask the question we still wrestle with today. Where did we come from, and why were we made? The Sumerians, regarded as the world's first great civilization, did not speak of mankind as an accident, nor as the result of blind chance. No, to them, humanity was a deliberate creation, a work of intention, born not from chaos but from the hands of beings they called the Anunnaki. Gods, or perhaps something more, that descended from the heavens, shaping clay into flesh and breathing purpose into dust. But here lies the mystery: purpose. Why would these beings craft humankind at all? Was it an act of divine love, or divine necessity? Were we made to be companions of the gods, or servants, bound to fulfill a task greater than ourselves? The Sumerian tablets suggest answers, but they do so in riddles, leaving us standing at the threshold of truth with more questions than certainty. And yet, woven into these myths is something hauntingly familiar. The sense that our existence is not random, that our struggles, our toils, and even our yearning for the stars may echo an ancient design. Could it be that the Sumerians preserved a fragment of a story humanity has forgotten, one that whispers to us still, buried in our collective soul? In this journey, we will dive into the Sumerian vision of creation, not as dry mythology, but as a living mystery with implications for our lives today. We will uncover the hidden meanings behind the tales of Enki and Enlil, the clay of life, and the sacred breath that animates man. And more importantly, we will ask, what do these myths reveal about our role in the cosmos, and what wisdom might they still hold for us now? Prepare yourself, for this is not just history. It is a key to understanding the hidden architecture of human existence. To truly grasp the Sumerian vision of mankind's creation, we must first step back into the world they inhabited. Imagine the cradle of civilization, the land of Sumer, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers carved out fertile plains in an otherwise unforgiving desert. It was here, around 3000 BCE, that humanity first built great cities, developed writing, codified laws, and gazed at the stars with questions that echoed into eternity. The Sumerians were not a primitive people fumbling in the dark of myth. They were astronomers, mathematicians, engineers, and mystics. Their cuneiform tablets, thousands of them unearthed from the sands, hold not only records of trade and kings, but also hymns, prayers, and cosmologies. These writings reveal a profound belief that the human story is inseparable from the divine. Central to their worldview was the pantheon of the Anunnaki, celestial beings described as those who from heaven to earth came. To the Sumerians, the Anunnaki were not distant abstractions but active presences, shaping the destiny of humanity. Unlike later religions where gods dwelt in inaccessible heavens, the Sumerian deities walked among men, ruled cities, and intervened in daily affairs. Their myths did not describe creation as a single miraculous event, but as a negotiation between divine necessity and cosmic order. One of the most striking accounts appears in the Atrahasis epic and the later Enuma Elish, where the gods themselves are burdened by labor. We are told that the lesser gods, tired of digging canals and maintaining creation, rebelled against the greater gods. To resolve this unrest, the Anunnaki devised a solution: the creation of mankind. Humans would take up the toil, leaving the gods free to dwell in leisure. Thus, man was shaped from clay mixed with the blood of a sacrificed deity, flesh infused with divine essence, destined to serve yet forever carrying within a spark of divinity. This vision is unsettling and awe-inspiring at once. It portrays humanity not as the centerpiece of creation, but as part of a cosmic hierarchy, born of necessity, yet forever linked to the divine through our origin. It hints at a paradox. We are both servants and inheritors, bound by duty, yet carrying within us the very blood of the gods. Philosophically, this raises timeless questions. If we were made to labor, does that diminish our worth, or does it give our struggles a sacred purpose? If the divine breath animates us, Does that mean we are more than what we appear to be? Fragments of the infinite hidden in fragile vessels of clay. Over time, much of this knowledge faded. Successive empires, Akkadian, Babylonian, Assyrian, absorbed and reshaped the myths, layering them with their own interpretations. Later still, echoes of Sumerian creation stories filtered into Hebrew, Greek, and even Christian traditions, though stripped of their original context. The tale of man formed from clay, the breath of life, the divine garden, all find their earliest roots in Sumer, though their meanings were often altered, simplified, or obscured. And so, what we are left with today are fragments, tablets chipped by time, translations clouded by interpretation, myths half-remembered by civilizations long gone. Yet within these fragments burns an ancient flame, the sense that our existence has always been entangled with the gods, that our toil and our longing for the divine are two sides of the same mystery. It is from this foundation that we now turn to the Sumerians' core explanation of mankind's creation. The clay, the blood, the breath, the mystery of how mortals became vessels of eternity. The Sumerians did not describe creation with vague metaphors or distant allegories. Their stories were tactile, intimate, and strangely precise. To them, mankind's beginning was not the product of abstract divinity, but the result of direct intervention, almost like an experiment carried out by skilled architects of life. The texts tell us that the gods were weary. The Anunnaki, though powerful, still shouldered the burden of maintaining creation, digging canals, shaping the fertile lands, and ensuring the flow of life-giving waters. When the lesser gods grew restless and rebelled against their endless toil, the higher gods convened a council. The decision was made: humankind would be fashioned to bear the weight of labor. Here we encounter a striking image: the clay of the earth, moistened and molded like a vessel. Into this clay, the blood of a sacrificed god was mingled, often said to be that of Geshtui, whose name means intelligence or wisdom. From this union of clay and divine essence, man was formed. Not merely a creature of earth, but a hybrid, flesh of dust, spirit of divinity. This act imbued humankind with a peculiar duality, bound to serve, yet also capable of thought, language, and remembrance of the divine. This myth carries a haunting symbolism. The clay represents our mortality, fragile, temporary, destined to crumble. The divine blood, however, represents the spark of eternity within us, the reason why humans are restless, forever searching, never content with mere survival. In this paradox lies the human condition. We are slaves of necessity, yet dreamers of the infinite. But why clay? Why not stone, metal, or some higher material? To the Sumerians, clay was the substance of civilization itself. From clay they built their cities, inscribed their stories, and carried water to sustain life. Clay was common, but it was also transformative, malleable in the hands of those who shaped it. Perhaps this was their hidden teaching. Humanity, too, is malleable. We are not fixed, but capable of transformation, for we are vessels awaiting divine inscription. The story continues with the gods Enki and Ninhursag, divine architects of life, taking an active role in shaping mankind. Enki, the god of wisdom and waters, is often portrayed as humanity's benefactor. He did not see mankind merely as laborers, but as participants in a greater cosmic drama. While Enlil, another powerful god, is often depicted as stern, concerned with order and control, Enki's role was to guide, to teach, to ensure that humanity could survive and thrive. This interplay between Enki and Enlil is more than a mythological quarrel. It reflects a universal tension between freedom and order, between creativity and authority. Humanity, caught in between, became the battleground of these divine wills. Are we meant to live as obedient servants or as seekers of hidden wisdom? The Sumerians left the question open, perhaps because the answer was never simple. One of the most profound elements of this myth is the breath of life. After man was formed from clay, he remained inert, beautifully shaped, yet lifeless. It was only when the gods breathed into him that humanity awoke. This breath was not mere oxygen, but a transfer of divine essence, the same mysterious force that animates stars, rivers, and the unseen currents of destiny. In this detail, the Sumerian account foreshadows countless later traditions. The Hebrew Genesis, where God breathes life into Adam, or even Eastern teachings of prana and chi as the vital force that sustains existence. And yet, beneath the poetry lies an unsettling undertone. Mankind was created not for glory, but for burden. The myths state clearly, humans were made to work the fields, to maintain the cities, to build temples for the gods. We were, in essence, created as laborers in service of beings greater than ourselves. But if that were the whole story, the Sumerian legacy would be one of despair. Instead, the myths leave us with a deeper mystery. Though we were made to serve, the divine spark within us makes us restless, defiant, and capable of transcending our condition. This paradox, servants who long for freedom, clay that remembers the stars, is the essence of the Sumerian vision of humanity. If the first part of the Sumerian myth explains how mankind was made, the second part asks a far more dangerous question. Why were we made with such complexity? If our only purpose was labor, why give us intelligence, memory, and the longing for transcendence? Why shape us not as simple tools, but as beings capable of questioning the gods themselves? This is where the Sumerian stories grow darker and more mysterious. For while Enki, humanity's patron, is often depicted as the one who gave us wisdom and subtlety, Enlil, the stern god of authority, saw humanity's gifts as a threat. The texts describe moments where humanity became too noisy, too ambitious, too restless. Enlil, angered by our growth, sought to reduce our numbers, sending plagues, droughts, and eventually the Great Flood. In this, the Sumerian myth echoes a chilling truth, that the very qualities which make us human, our creativity, our resilience, our refusal to be silent, were also seen as dangers by those who sought to control us. The flood story is especially revealing. According to the Sumerians, it was Enki who secretly warned Atrahasis, the exceedingly wise, guiding him to build a vessel that preserved life when the gods unleashed destruction. Here again we see the duality. One god seeks order through annihilation, another ensures survival through wisdom. Humanity survives, not because it obeys blindly, but because it listens to hidden knowledge, the whispers of the God of wisdom. This interplay of suppression and salvation points to a profound esoteric teaching. Humanity is not merely a servant, but a participant in an ongoing cosmic struggle. We were given intelligence not simply to labor, but to navigate between the forces that would either suppress or liberate us. The Sumerians understood existence as a drama of tension, between chaos and order, freedom and control, survival and transcendence. And humanity, as the hybrid offspring of clay and divinity, became the axis of this drama. Another layer of the myth raises even greater mysteries. The term Anunnaki has fueled centuries of speculation. To the Sumerians, they were divine beings who shaped destiny, but their descriptions blur the line between gods, ancestors, and perhaps something else. Were the Anunnaki simply symbolic archetypes representing cosmic forces, or did the Sumerians remember actual beings who came from the heavens to the earth? The texts are ambiguous, and it is this ambiguity that has kept the story alive through millennia. Some modern interpretations, controversial yet captivating, suggest the Sumerian accounts could be echoes of encounters with advanced beings, interpreted through the lens of ancient culture. Whether literal or metaphorical, what matters is the implication. Mankind's creation was not a random accident, but a deliberate act, perhaps one among many in the vast cosmos. Even more fascinating is the Sumerian emphasis on memory. The word used for the sacrificed god, Geshtui, connects to wisdom and intelligence. To give mankind the blood of this god was to give us not only life, but the power of remembrance. We became beings who could record, inscribe, and preserve. This is no small detail. The Sumerians themselves were the first to invent writing, the very act of transforming fleeting memory into lasting inscription. In a sense, their own myths were fulfilled through their invention of cuneiform. Humans became the record keepers of the cosmos, inscribing the will of the gods in clay, just as the gods inscribed their essence into human clay. Yet, there is still a haunting undertone. Were we given memory and intelligence so that we might awaken, or so that we might better serve? Was writing meant as liberation, or as a tool of control? History shows both. Empires rose on the backs of written law, yet hidden in the margins of those same tablets are hymns and prayers that yearn for freedom, for divine compassion, for transcendence. This duality is the essence of the Sumerian creation story. Humanity is both slave and heir, tool and thinker, clay and divine spark. Our existence is a paradox, one that cannot be resolved, only lived. And perhaps this is the deepest wisdom the Sumerians left us, that the mystery of humanity is not in finding one definitive answer, but in carrying the tension of opposites within us, like vessels of paradox shaped from sacred clay. Ancient myths often seem distant, like echoes from a world long gone. But the brilliance of the Sumerian story is that it is not merely a tale of origins. It is a mirror, one that still reflects our lives today. If humanity is clay mixed with divine essence, then we must ask, how do we live as beings of both dust and divinity? The first application is in how we view our struggles. According to the Sumerians, man was created to work, to endure labor, to carry burdens. On the surface, this feels bleak, but there is hidden wisdom here. Our struggles are not meaningless, they are part of the design. Each challenge, each hardship, is a form of shaping, like clay being molded by unseen hands. Instead of resenting the weight of life, we can see it as sacred training, a process that draws out our hidden spark. This perspective transforms suffering from punishment into initiation. Second, the myth teaches us about memory and inscription. Just as the gods inscribed their essence into humanity, the Sumerians inscribed wisdom into clay tablets. To live as they did means becoming conscious record keepers, not only of outer events, but of inner ones. Journaling, reflection, and meditation are modern ways of fulfilling this ancient role. By recording our thoughts, dreams, and insights, we are inscribing the divine spark within us, ensuring it does not vanish into the dust of forgetfulness. A third application lies in the breath of life. The Sumerian myth tells us that man remained lifeless until the gods breathed essence into him. Breath, in nearly every tradition, is more than survival. It is the carrier of spirit. To breathe consciously is to reconnect with the divine essence within. Practices such as controlled breathing, pranayama, or simply mindful inhalation and exhalation remind us that life itself is sacred. Each breath is a renewal of that original gift from the gods. The story also challenges us with its paradox. We are servants and seekers at once. The lesson here is humility. Yes, we labor. Yes, we are bound by necessity, bills, responsibilities, duties. But within this humility lies a profound spiritual exercise, to perform ordinary tasks with extraordinary awareness. Washing dishes, walking to work, caring for family. These mundane acts become offerings, temples built not of stone but of intention. This is the hidden alchemy of the Sumerian vision, transforming servitude into sacred service. Finally, the Sumerian creation story reminds us of the danger of forgetting who we are. Enlil, the god of control, feared humanity's noise, ambition, and vitality. In our time, noise has taken new forms: distractions, consumerism, endless digital chatter. These forces drown out the spark within, reducing us to passive laborers once again. To resist this fate is to follow the path of Atrahasis, the one who listened, who remembered, who preserved life through hidden knowledge. For us, this means cultivating silence, listening inwardly, and daring to follow wisdom even when the world calls it rebellion. So how do we practice this? Begin by embracing your struggles as sacred shaping. Keep a journal, not only of tasks and goals, but of dreams, intuitions, and synchronicities, your personal clay tablets of memory. Breathe with awareness, remembering that each inhale is a continuation of that first divine gift. Approach your daily labor not as drudgery, but as an offering. And most of all, create moments of silence, where the whisper of the divine within you can be heard. Through these practices, the Sumerian myth ceases to be a relic of ancient Mesopotamia. It becomes a living guide, reminding us that we are more than clay and more than servants. We are paradox incarnate, dust infused with divinity, vessels shaped for mystery, keepers of the breath of eternity. And so, from the dust of Sumer, across 5 millennia of silence, we inherit a story that is both humbling and electrifying. The Sumerians did not tell us we were accidents of chance. They told us we were shaped, fashioned deliberately from the clay of the earth, and infused with the blood and breath of divinity. Servants, yes, but also vessels of eternity. This paradox is the heart of the mystery. We are beings destined to toil, yet restless with dreams. We are fragments of dust, yet we carry within us a spark that refuses to die. Every struggle, every question, every act of remembrance is part of the sacred drama the Sumerians inscribed into their myths. But what makes their vision so powerful is not simply the details of gods and clay, but the timeless wisdom hidden within. They remind us that our burdens can be transformed into sacred offerings, that our memories can become tablets of wisdom, and that each breath is a living thread tying us back to the moment when divinity touched matter. The Sumerians left us more than myths. They left us a mirror that asks, what will you do with your spark of divinity? Will you let it be buried beneath the weight of endless toil, or will you kindle it into a light that transcends the darkness? Perhaps that is why their story still lingers. It whispers that mankind is not merely a servant, nor merely divine, but a bridge between heaven and earth. A paradox, yes, but a paradox that contains the seed of transformation. So the question I leave with you is this: if you are clay infused with eternity, how will you shape your own vessel? Will you live as a slave to necessity, or will you awaken as a co-creator with the divine? The choice, as the Sumerians might say, has always been in your hands.